Welcome back to the last part of the tutorial for the Afi Exquisite bra where the cups are made with foam. Besides sewing the foam, I will also briefly touch the band elastic subject. Let's dive in. I will be assembling one foam cup first. Remember, the cup is made of 4 pieces. Sewing foam is actually very easy because there are no seam allowances involved. You simply close align the pieces, and sew, using the zigzag stitch, making sure that control notches match. Here's a close-up look how the seam is nice and flat, no holes and no bulks. Now I am adding my third piece. Again, notches are my guide. With your fingers bring the pieces closer to each other. Where the needle sticks the foam, there should be no overlapping. A question that might come up here: can you use the 3-step zigzag instead? The answer is, it really is not needed here. The only time when we overlap the foam is when we need to sew this little segment here at the wireline seam allowance. But notice that this short section does not overlap. We sew the little segment, and then we stop. Now open up the pieces for the rest of the seam. And from here it is business as usual, align the notches and stitch with no overlapping. Once we reach the notch, the next control point is the end of the seam, where the edges must align perfectly. All the stitches on the foam must be reinforced. And here is one assembled foam cup. Really easy to sew. Almost nothing special about it. And look how nicely the wireline seam allowance curves away from the cup. To have a perfect foam cup, however, we need to work on the neckline. Let's see why. For that, I am bringing over the lace cup. Notice that when I cover the foam, the neckline edge of the foam is rather bulky. And that means, when wearing the bra, under certain blouses, the rough edge is going to show. I will run the neckline through the overlock machine. This will make the foam edge thinner. Instead of the overlock, you can use the zigzag stitch on your sewing machine. Fast forward, 1 cup done, and I am overlocking the second cup without cutting the threads. Look now, how pretty the neckline edge is. Next, if you feel that the neckline may gape on the surface, that's gonna touch the skin, you can zigzag a plush elastic, slightly stretching the elastic. Just make sure not to overstretch this elastic. For my cups, I'm not going to add elastic. Instead, I'm moving on. The next step is to cover the foam with the lace cup. The guide here is the middle seam on the foam. On top of it, we align the center seam from the lace cup. Make sure you pin this critical point. If you take a look towards the neckline, you can see that both seams align nicely. From here, the job is to align the edges and pin along the wireline. Please note that, on the back of my work, at the armhole the foam cup is shorter than the lace cup. That's how it's supposed to be for your cups as well. If it's not, maybe you cut your foam with the seam allowances. For the start of the seam, I am moving a couple of pins. By the way, I put pins on the lace side, but I will be sewing from the foam side. Because of that, I need to take the pins out from beneath of my work. And I need to be careful here and remove all the pins one by one. Instead of using your sewing machine, you could have hand basted the layers. Regardless how you stitch those together, when done, you need to even the lace edge to the foam edge. So, trim away any lace or fabric excess, but not the foam. Then, we need to somehow stabilize the lace to the foam at the neckline. For that, I will be using a delicate technique. I will use a short straight stitch right here, where the lace meets the duplex fabric. Here, look, it's almost invisible. Next, at the intersection of the scallops, with the lace completely covering the foam, we are going to stitch a short and dense zigzag. This is also called a bar tack. It's almost invisible. Or, one could think it's part of the lace embroidery design. This is a small cup with relatively wide scallops. I'm going to bar tack on all scallops. For larger cups, it should be enough to stitch in just a couple more places. Remember to leave longer threads, so you can transfer the threads from the front to the back. To prevent unraveling, we want to tie delicate knots here. This is a thin thread, the knots and the stitches are almost invisible. But these stitch points will keep the lace in place. While on the right side of the cup, with the hidden seams, we get this clean and perfect look. The cups are finally ready. And you can move on to constructing the band. For that, please refer to the pattern instruction booklet, following the steps exactly, and when you reach the band elastic steps, turn here, because I want to show you some details. When sewing the first stitch on the elastic, that is, the zigzag stitch closer to the picots, on the wrong side of the bra, the stitch should not catch the foam. Next of course is to trim away the fabric excess. I already cut mine on the other side, so I can show you that, when you fold the elastic, this time, the elastic will cover the foam. And when you stitch here, following the plain edge of the elastic, the 3-step zigzag will also catch the foam. Look at my finished step. No raw foam edge. It's hidden under the elastic. And with that, no other sewing step is different. Maybe the wire channeling will be thicker than usual, but with patience everything will work out. So following the instructions exactly, and you should successfully finish your gorgeous Afi Exquisite bra. I hope you found this tutorial useful. Thank you so much for watching. Please give a like or leave a comment if you have any questions. Don't forget to tag me on Instagram or Facebook, so I can see what you make with my patterns. Cheers! And all the very best to you.